Hey, I am Jess, and I'm obsessed with all things nutrition, science, and helping you navigate this information while maintaining a deep sense of peace and empowerment in your body. I'm a registered dietitian who started out with an eating disorder and then fell in love with learning about how God intricately designed our bodies to be resilient and so much more than superficially beautiful. I am now a mama who loves to be healthy, not because of how it makes me look, but because of how it has transformed the energy I can give to my family, my friends, and you. On this show, we hit on real talk around the latest nutrition science and body image resiliency, all while balancing it between grit and grace. Think of this as your weekly audio coffee to encourage your empowered eating journey. This is the Fuel Her Awesome podcast. Hey friend, welcome to the show today. We're talking all about protein powders. I'm a protein princess. You know, I love talking about it. I think most of us out there are now really well aware of just how much protein we need, but where we struggle is like, how do we actually get it in? And protein supplements, protein powders, protein shakes, like they are all the rage these days. So I wanted to bring on my friend, Darcy Haggith. Darcy leads Grupo Nutrition and Polar Joe brand, which helps people achieve their protein number through these delicious, healthy, ready to mix drinks. But one of the things that I think a lot of us as consumers miss is what goes into the behind the scenes business side of putting these recipes and these ingredient labels together. There are a lot of influencers out there that will let you know what is not clean, what we should avoid. And I thought it would be really great to bring on Darcy so we could pick his brain about some of these things, like what are proprietary blends? Is it something we should be looking for? What is the difference between whey concentrate, whey isolate? What about sweeteners and sunflower and seed oils that are used in these products? He's going to break down the science for us and give us some behind the scenes insights so we can better choose our protein powder. Friends, I'm so glad you're here today. This is like a real cheers episode, right? Because we're talking about protein powders. Let's grab that drink if you've got one. Cheers. Let's dive into today's show. Darcy, I'm so glad to have you back on the show. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. It's nice to be back.
Well, even though we haven't talked in a while, I feel like I hang out with you every day because I have my Polar Joe every day.
Likewise.
Now, we're not going to go back into your story because we've talked through that before, and I'm actually going to link our first episode in the show notes, but Polar Joe's come a long way, and I'd love to just hear what is your favorite part about running Polar Joe right now? Like, what is really fueling what you're doing?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I think we share philosophies on the amount of protein one should get in. And I'll talk about two populations. So if you're highly active, and if you're above 40, which is the scientific definition of being aged,
Oh
like it
my
or not,
gosh.
that's the scientific term. So you know that we do a lot of work in the research community. So um, what the research says for both of those populations is that we need a little bit more protein in our diet than maybe the food guide or our respective governments tell us we need. So it's about double. So that 1.6 number, 1.6 grams per kilo of body weight per day is super, super important. And I don't think that it can always done be through force of will. So we know that I personally, I look for about 130 grams a day. I have a hard time getting it all in through real food.
Oh,
If I
yeah.
could, I would. I would do it through real food all day long. The challenge that I have is in the morning. Walking, we live busy lives. We try to compress so much in. I have this term healthy compression. I like to be busy, but I'm not going to make 6 eggs or, eggs and yogurt in the morning to get 30 grams in the morning. So something like Polar Joe helps, an enjoyable way of
Mhm.
getting your coffee and protein in and that just kind of plugs into a daily routine. So I think that's the thing that excites me the most is that we can affect a healthy change through a product that some people love. So
That's awesome.
often when people try the product, they don't know there's any protein in, and I think that that's the holy grail. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm excited is that we get to help that population.
That's so awesome. Well, I'm benefiting from that because I'm a part of that population. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. Now, I want to just dive right in and we're going to really pick apart and break down different kinds of protein supplements, why they are the way they are. And that's one of my favorite parts about you, Darcy, is you didn't come at this, looking, how do I make a ton of money? How do I like do it? You came at this like, how can I make a quality product that not only fuels people, but adds taste and excitement to their day? And you've just done such a great job at that. So I want to break down some protein powder facts, myths, so people get a really good understanding of why these supplements are so wonderful to add and maybe consider adding them. Can you break down the different types of whey protein for us? Like we've got whey concentrate, isolate, they vary in purity level. Tell us a little bit about what this means and why you've decided to go the route you've gone with Polar Joe.
Okay, so with whey protein isolate, or sorry, whey proteins in particular, there's kind of three categories. If you were to read a label and it said whey, then it has to comply with being 80% pure by total weight. And that includes the moisture in it as well. A whey concentrate will be 80 to 90% on an as is basis, or sorry, on a dried basis. So after you remove the moisture. And then a whey isolate has to be 90% on a dried basis. So as you move up the chain, what that means is you're getting more pure, higher purity protein. And with the higher purity, one of the key amino acids there's 20 amino acids in there, but one of the key, as it's important to us, I guess, is we're always really focused on leucine because of muscle health. It helps our muscles repair, helps them grow stronger. So leucine is key. The higher the purity of your protein, the more leucine you're going to get in there, and less of what you don't want. The less of what you don't want often are the things that make the product not taste as good. So when you think of the sensory characteristics, the way it mixes, sometimes people will refer to proteins as being maybe gritty or chalky. And maybe after people take a protein, they enjoyed it at the time, but afterwards they might have some GI discomfort. So gastrointestinal issues, so bloating, not feeling the best. And of course, people that are lactose intolerant, they can't handle a protein having too much lactose in there. So those are kind of the three steps. And if I could, we I want to be careful not to come across holier than thou on this, but we choose the very best, highest purity protein that's available, period. The reason we choose that is because we get to fuel the best athletes in Canada through partnerships that we have with, COPS. And a long time ago when we started fueling them, that goes back to 2008, I said to myself, well, if it's right for them, well, I want it too. I want to use that same protein. And then I thought about it further and I thought, well, if I want to use it, there's other people that will want to use it as well. So that's just the lane that we chose to be in.
That's awesome.
And it's just where we'll stay. There's many companies, there's a lot of great companies in making good products. We just choose to, do our thing. Some people will get it and like it. And, others will say, that's not for me. And that's okay. It's all about kind of connecting with the people that get you and continuing to make them happy. So our protein in particular, I gave you that 90% for a whey isolate. Our protein is actually 93.5 to 93.9. That's what our C of A's always say when they come in on a dried basis. So on a dried basis. So most proteins have about 5 to 6% moisture.
Okay.
So those ones that are complying, like the math is way different. So this is very superior to just about anything out there.
Yeah.
And that is why it tastes so great. The number one reason that people buy Polar Joe is not because of any of the stuff that I just told you. That's all just, features and benefits. They buy it because it tastes great.
Yeah,
and
but
they read the label. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, what you just described to us and how it is such a pure protein. And when you say the 93.5 to 93.9% whey isolate, the rest is coming from lactose, is that correct?
No, the rest is coming, almost all of that is coming from water. Because
Water. Okay.
when they dry it off,
Gotcha.
like, there's that amount of moisture in it. Usually it's on the spec, it says around 6%,
Okay.
less than 6%. So essentially, you're getting
I
something as
see.
pure as possible. In fact, on the lactose level, do you know what a cup of milk has for lactose? I'm going
Oh,
to challenge you a bit.
12 grams?
Yeah, it is. It
Okay.
is
Okay.
12 grams in a cup of milk. So a 20-gram serving of our protein has zero point zero 0.06 grams.
Okay.
And like that's your body can't even detect that amount. So
Mm-mm.
in the US, when we're selling to you guys, we could put that on our label that it's lactose free.
Oh, because it
Um,
checks the criteria.
it
Yeah.
does. Yeah. There is, so we have tons of people that use us come to us and say, hey, I'm lactose intolerant. And we're very confident. If anybody doesn't like one of our products, we immediately we give them a chance to take something else, or we'll just refund them. So we're very easy to work with. We're very
That's awesome.
confident in what we do. Never do we get people that are lactose intolerant not being able to handle our
Not being
product.
able to tolerate it. Well,
Right.
and thank you for clarifying that because that's so cool to understand and that like the cutoff level you could technically meet lactose free criteria. How cool is that? Which is not what it tastes like. Like it's a very creamy drink. And I think to your point, what you were talking about earlier, this purity of it, you can feel that when you mix it. Like when I mix this protein powder, there's no chalky aftertaste, there's no chalky feel. And that's one of my favorite parts about sharing it with clients is I'll just say, try it. Like I had a
Right.
round of samples I gave out last month and I was like, just try it. Like I don't know how to explain it. It's not a protein shake, but it is a protein
Yes.
shake. And
Yes.
the way it mixes. So you're saying it mixes so well because of the purity level that that it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
And
so
I sometimes forget that. Like I had a gentleman that's here in town. He, he runs a dealership, Provincial Chrysler, and he said to me, he says, Darcy, you know why I love your product? And because he'll hear me talk about all the facts and figures,
yeah,
he says, because it mixes so
yeah, it
easily
does.
and it tastes great. Like
Yeah.
that's why this is that's what you should be selling. And I'm like, thanks, Udo. Because sometimes I lose sight. I'm maybe a little bit too deep in the science. So
Yeah, well, it mixes beautifully. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the sweeteners that are used in there. And we're going to hit on some of the topics of like artificial sweeteners, natural sweeteners, sunflower oils. When we look at the Polar Joe label, there are some things in it that I think at first glance might cause some like ideas of maybe I shouldn't have this. We've got seed oil
yeah,
in there. Can you talk to us a little bit about why you've chosen to use some of the sweeteners you've chosen and what they actually mean?
okay, that's a really good question and something that I wouldn't say it keeps me up at night, but it is something that we're working on.
Sure.
We talked to Niagara College yesterday about that, about cleaning our label. So um, I think you got to go back in history to answer the question why we chose it. And maybe it was a little bit out of ignorance. But at the time, I would say that um, our perception of what was clean label and what wasn't isn't what it is today. So we've
Mm.
evolved a lot through the last 7 to 8 years. So this was developed in 2017, and we use exactly the same formula as when we first
Oh, wow.
formulated it. Yeah, it was kind of a beautiful experience. So I can share that another time. But there's essentially four raw ingredients in there. There's the protein that we talked about.
Hmm.
There's real coffee.
Hmm.
That's ingredient two. We use organic coconut sugar as the
Hmm.
sweetener, so
Hmm.
that's what gives the flavor. And we chose that because it's got a lower glycemic index. And we also liked kind of the nutty, caramely flavor it had versus refined, just sucrose or sugar. Now, the last ingredient is where, you're coming up with some of these things that maybe, you get a bit of a recoil when you look at that label. It's called Rich Mix. It's a raw material that we purchase. And Rich Mix is made up of about the majority of it is sunflower oil.
Mhm.
That's what gives the body of the drink. So you have to have fats. Our product has about 5 grams of fats. And that gives it the creaminess. If you were to look at the label of like Coffee Mate or any non-dairy creamer, it would be kind of the same sort of thing. But there are some functional ingredients in there as well that help it stay together and solubilize. And those are the ones that are a bit concerning. Corn syrup solids in the amount that's in this product would not be concerning. I think when you have corn syrup solids as your primary source of carbohydrates in a product, where it's not used functionally, it's used calorically, I think that's a problem. But there's also sodium caseinate in there, which also gets some raised eyebrows. So we recognize that these are, things that we could clean up. We are cleaning up. I can't tell you how many how many development trials we've done, and we haven't hit it just yet where we've removed those things. We've tried versions that don't have those ingredients, and it gives us the same sensory, feeling where someone wants to plug it into their daily routine every day. So my mind is in the trace amounts that these things that are on the label and in the product, that is far outweighed by the quality of protein and the fact that someone's going to do this every day and maybe get 20 to 30 grams in their morning where they wouldn't otherwise. So that's kind of where we've landed. The Holy Grail for me, I've said that twice, Holy Grail, 3 times now, would be to have the same sensory characteristics, just as enjoyable product without those things. And that's what we're chasing right now. So there's a couple grants up here in Canada that we're working through to get help from institutions that can help us reformulate this without some of those things. I personally believe that seed oils, I think that that's a little bit blown out of proportion. We do get people that new retailers that won't, they say, well, that just doesn't align with me. In our in society today with influencers and social media, it's very easy to get a message out there that may be true to a degree, but that message gets extrapolated over all use cases, and I don't believe that applies. I mean, the number one would be like canola oil. The way we would use it in a plant-based product is different than heating it up on a stove and then making it, a problem. So I think you really have to understand how the product's being used. And unfortunately, when these things come out, perception does become reality. And we are personally responding to that perception, because it is our reality.
Right. Well, and I think, on the one hand, it's really hard to keep that taste factor and create a product folks enjoy while trying to meet this new perception need. And I think what we've seen in the food industry in the past is we take something out and we just replace it with something that doesn't match that. So you would know more about this, but my understanding is like when trans fat came out, and there was that one that we had science, right? Trans fat is not something we need. A lot of these food companies just took the molecule and moved another hydrogen. So it technically wasn't a trans fat, but it still had the same effect in the body. And with the seed oils, I'm with you. I think, it's definitely something to look at, but my understanding is like the problem with the seed oils is the imbalance in omega-6 9s to omega-3s. And the seed oils are heavier in your omega-6 and 9 fatty acids. And so when we look at that, especially in America, we tend to have more processed foods. So our omega-6 and 9 intake is already pretty high. And our omega-3, which is our fish, our walnuts, that's lower just for the majority of the population. But if you look at someone like, I look at my own diet, I eat a lot of salmon. I supplement with my omega-3s. I eat a lot of walnuts, a lot of ground flaxseed. So I'm getting a lot of those omega-3s already. I don't eat a lot of processed food. The amounts in this creamer that's used in the Polar Joe product is so minimal that there's no way that's impacting my omega-6 9 to 3 balance.
Yeah, I agree with that. like, yeah,
It's a
it's
tough
well
job you
said.
guys have to do. It's really tough to chase that, I'm sure.
It is, and I just don't want to compromise. Like I'll say, if there was something heinous in the product, it wouldn't be out there already. Like
Yeah,
I would never put something out that I wouldn't take every day. I take this every day. I
same.
take a serving and a half. I'm not uncomfortable with that. I know the science. I know how Rich Mix was put together. At nauseum, I've spoke to the company that produces it and why each ingredient is in there. What is the percentage that's in there? And like I know all of that, and I can very confidently say that this is, a healthy product. The fact that you're getting, 20 grams of protein in a drink that you love, there's no question for me. I do think from, getting more exposure and, like more retailers and different people to take the product on, we need to clean the label up. So that's what we're endeavoring to do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if anyone can do it, I got faith in you, Darcy.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let's talk a little bit about proprietary blends because this is something we're seeing a lot in the protein powder industry. Can you explain why companies combine different types of whey proteins, how that can affect the quality of the product, particularly in terms of taste, lactose content, and the leucine levels that you were talking about?
Sure. I guess we could just kind of um, go from the previous question on the different types of whey.
Hmm.
So what will happen is, and it all comes down to cost, the cost of the product.
Hmm.
So our protein, even though it's like we choose it, it's the absolute best. It's very, very expensive. I know for a fact that it's double the price per kilo or per pound than most of the other products that are commercially available.
Hmm.
That's a reality. Um, so what people will do is if you understood, and I think you do, that whey isolate is kind of the better standard of those
Hmm.
three. So what happens is people will call it a proprietary blend, and they can just call it, you know, Gilmore's blend,
Hmm.
proprietary blend. And in parentheses, you have to list which, the three, or whatever they're adding. So you'll often see whey isolate at the beginning, followed by either whey or concentrated whey.
Hmm.
And what that means is that they have now, they get whey isolate on the label, but they only need to use the majority of that blend has to be the first one. So
Hmm.
if you have three on the label, you could essentially have 34% whey isolate, 33% concentrate, and 33% just plain whey. So now you've got a
Yeah.
proprietary blend, and to like that's a fancy word, right? Oh, geez, it's got a proprietary blend. I want that. But that's just their way of not manipulating, but using the label to their benefit, so that they get, from a marketing standpoint, whey isolate on there, and you see that as the first ingredient. So you kind of
Yeah.
conclude, hey, it's almost all whey, and that's what they want us to think. So it's down to cost. So they'd be able to produce that protein blend. If you just compare it a protein blend like I just described to the whey isolate we use, it's probably a third of the
Mhm.
price. The majority of the price of these protein products obviously is protein. So if you can have it as a third of a price, then you can create more margins. You can sell your product much cheaper. You
Mhm.
can do all kinds of things. So we're in a tough space because the cost of our product is pretty expensive. We try to get it to the consumer at a price that's palatable, if you will, to them. And yeah, we've been successful, in doing what we're doing. The purity, it just goes back to the previous conversation. So if you're getting something, just 100% whey, whether you buy from us or you buy whatever you buy, look to get 100% whey isolate,
Mhm.
highest you can. That's going to ensure that it's a higher leucine content, which is going to be good for your muscle health. It's also going to have less of what you don't want in there. Uh, Most importantly, the lactose.
Mhm.
We've done an analysis of every brand out there. There's some other good brands. And you can tell. So if a product doesn't have any added sugar to it, so let's just say it uses stevia, you can tell that it's got lactose by the grams of carbohydrates. So if it's 100%
Oh.
protein
Mm-hmm.
and you see that it has 1 or 2 grams of carbohydrates, well, that's coming from lactose because that's the only
Ah,
sugar that would be present. So that's a watch out as well. And we've done our analysis when we're comparing our just plain whey isolate to other brands. And ours is like 0.3. So it's just, you'll see it.
wow. It's so interesting to hear the business side and the marketing side behind that because you're right. I think so many folks think, "Ooh, it's a proprietary blend. Like this is something special
Yes.
that they've thought through," not
Yeah.
considering that oftentimes companies are actually diluting the quality protein to spread it across a greater
Yeah.
volume to impact the cost. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I will say there is an instance, and when we first got into CrossFit, I worked with some, regional level athletes that were going to the games, and they really wanted me to use hydrolyzed whey
Hmm.
and a whey isolate. The theory behind hydrolyzed whey is that it's smaller molecules
Hmm.
than the whey isolate. So if those smaller chains are thought to get into the system and be absorbed and be utilized more effectively, I think that matters when you're using inferior whey isolates.
Mm.
Um, I work with a Copson, and there's a physiologist out in Victoria, Dr. Trent Stellingworth, and I put that question to him, like, do I need to be using this? He says, not with the protein you're using, like,
Oh, wow.
because yours, it can absorb faster than that. But so you'll see companies blend, and we do that on one of our products on the Grupo side of things, where we don't call it proprietary.
Hmm.
There's just two ingredients on there. So if a company is doing it to have benefits of two different types of proteins, I would be all in favor of that. But most times they're getting creative from a cost perspective, and not it's
Mm.
not for you and me as a consumer.
Right. Well, you've really focused on the consumer because Polar Joe was initially developed for elite athletes, including Canadian, Olympic, and Paralympic athletes. And so I'm curious, how do the needs and that foundation of Polar Joe, how do the needs of those high performance athletes and like the ones you just talked about influence the quality of the products? And why do you believe this standard should extend to all customers?
Yeah. So the protein that we chose for those folks is what has been in place since 2008. And then there's an evolution, and I'll try to be quick. We then started to sell that product on its own,
Mhm.
and we call that Grupo Raw on the Grupo side of things. And we made that because they were buying it just for their athletes. So they were buying the straight protein, this high quality protein, and mixing it in with, cereals and yogurts and different things to help bump up or fortify real food so that they're achieving, their numbers.
Mhm.
So we started selling this protein, and it's like just plain protein. And it was personally a little pet project, because at home I would make a coffee, press button, make a couple shots of espresso, and I was adding protein, a little bit of cream, maple syrup, and just mixing it up. And I had these wonderful ice lattes, and I did that for a few years.
Mhm.
Um, and then it just dawned on me that, hey, here I am trying to get more protein in my diet in an enjoyable way. There's probably a product concept here. So um, I just, it wasn't necessarily for elite athletes that I prepared it or created it. It was to help people get a little bit more protein in their diet, because
Mhm.
I found out that it worked for me. And then when we got down to business and we said, okay, well, let's create this, we looked at what was happening, like Starbucks, Tim Hortons up here,
Mhm.
McDonald's. We looked at the macros on them, and you may know it's like 20, 22, 23 grams of sugar per drink, and next to no protein, 2 to 3 grams. So our mission was to flip it upside down. We wanted
Mhm.
21 grams of protein. We wanted 9 grams of sugar. We feel like 9 grams of sugar is a good amount to make it taste good,
Mhm.
but not enough that it's going to cause a problem when balanced with 5 grams of fat and
Mhm.
21 grams of protein. So
Mhm.
that's kind of how it evolved. And we do have lots of athletes that our elite athletes actually use it now. But I just wanted to clarify, it wasn't actually made for them.
Oh,
It was
okay.
made. it was made as a result of them because we had this really special protein
Gotcha.
as a base ingredient.
That's so great. Well, I think what I liked is what you said earlier is you said like, gosh, if this benefits them, I want to have access to this too. And
Yeah.
I think that's just so great. Now, I would love to hear you guys have some new products that you are sharing. So can you tell us a little bit about the new products Polar Joe has?
Um, I don't know if the last time we talked, Jess, like, so when we first became, Polar Joe, we introduced vanilla latte, mocha
Hmm.
latte.
Hmm.
Those are identical to the classic cold brew, but we just put natural vanilla or natural chocolate in it. So it just gives it, it's not sweeter. It just gives it that chocolate note
Hmm.
or the vanilla note. So um, my fan favorite is vanilla latte. That's what I have every day. For people that are not coffee people, matcha, we offer a matcha product,
Hmm.
which is incredible. If you know matcha, it's very subtle. It's a subtle flavor. The fact that we get away with it, if you will, adding 21 grams of protein, I think is pretty cool.
Hmm.
Um, we also have a low sugar version, which it doesn't, it actually does, it is a clean label. So if someone is recoiling at that, the other products, we use MCT in there. We use a
Hmm.
whole different creamer model on that to keep the macros where we want it to. And then there's a decaf version of
Hmm.
our product. So that's our lineup. We just introduced Blanco.
Hmm.
Blanco is that same protein that I've been talking about.
Yep.
So on the Grupo side, we sell it as raw,
Hmm.
where someone can buy a flavorless protein to fortify real foods. So many people don't know that we're Grupo. So we got this whole customer base that's Polar Joe. And my partner John and I he's in Chicago. We were kind of brainstorming, and we had this conversation. He was kind of frustrated that his wife came home with Kodiak pancakes
Hmm.
and good product. And he's like, Peg, what are you doing? We own a protein company. Like, why
Yeah.
are you buying? And she said, well, I didn't think that we could just add it to, proteins, right? So Kodiak's done a great job. Just add, whatever you need. You got your protein in there. Um, so the lights went off for us is that, wait a second, people don't even realize that, this is possible. So
Yeah.
we made Blanco. We've already been making that product on the Grupo side. So all we had to do was come up with a name, graphics, and we actually have a whole suite of recipes, smoothies, and we have the grade 8 recipes.
Awesome.
And those recipes are, you may like one of those recipes. Some are simple, add it to orange juice.
Yeah.
And now your orange juice is fortified.
It's so funny you
And,
say that. I just did that for my son because
okay.
we love the Blanco for that reason, like you were describing earlier, where like this morning I did make eggs. And I had a side of toast on the side, but between the eggs, I was only at 21 grams of protein, and I really like to get to
Yeah.
about 35. So I just take my Blanco, get a scoop and a half, and throw it in. I think I made a chai tea latte this morning, and like
Yeah.
it was leftover from yesterday. Heated it up, added the protein, mixed it, and then my son just had toast for breakfast. So he was like, I said, where's your protein? We didn't have any of our normal protein for him. So added the Blanco to his orange juice. It was great.
Yeah, and that's all we're trying to do with the recipes is just kind of open someone's mind. Like you can add it to, I do some work in some of the hospitals around here, and we've got to be in their kitchen, and we'll take something like chocolate pudding, which is kind of an indulgence, right?
Hmm.
A little pudding cup. But if you
Yes.
put 10 grams of protein in that, like Blanco goes in there, you mix it in, no one knows it's there. But now you've just completely changed the macros on that pudding. So you still have something that's, enjoyable, but now
Yeah.
it's functional. So that's what we love about Blanco.
It's so good. Well, and I think if we go back to like the physiology and the biology of breaking that down, it completely changes how you process something like pudding because now your body has two things to digest. It's got carbohydrate and protein, which
Yeah.
completely changes your blood sugar levels and what's to follow, much less your energy levels, which is what I always ask people is like, how do you feel after you have this? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a big fan of the new product. Well, Darcy, we are going to link all of that in the show notes. And you guys have been so awesome. You guys offer a 10% discount to listeners. So I'll have that code in the show notes for anyone listening that wants to try out Polar Joe. If you're not ready to buy the whole thing, we also have a $1 sample. You can just order a sample, test it out, try it. And I feel so confident you guys will taste it and not even know it has protein in it. You'll feel the energy bump from the protein, but then you'll also just love the taste and you'll be back in there ordering your favorite flavor.
Yeah, I'm happy to be on, and I love helping. And this isn't about driving business. If someone has a question for me, like one of your audience, like my email is Darcy, DARCY at polarjoe.com. Email me, and
Love it.
I will I'll engage. And I love the space. It's fascinating to me that we still don't, maybe, maybe 5%, 10% really get why it's important to move, do a
Mhm.
little bit of resistance exercise, get the right amount of protein in, and be flexible. And like if we do better in those four areas, like
Yeah.
it's a different world.
Yep.
It's a different world. So lots of great things out there. But if I could help you, if you think I could help you, email me and I'd be happy to do that.
You're the best, Darcy. Thank you so much for coming on today.
No problem. It was great to see you.
I'm so glad you were here today. Let's do yourself a favor and write down at least one actionable item that you can take away from today's episode to start fueling your awesome. Here on the show, we scratch the surface of empowered eating, but if you're looking to dive in deeper, I would love to help you out with that. Head over to jessbrownrd.com. You can check out my free Empowered Eating workshop. You can take a free quiz to see if your eating style aligns with your values, or better yet, book a discovery call with me to learn more about how to further your empowered eating journey. I cannot wait to be in your ear again, cheering you on along the way. Until then, cheers and happy eating.